So for scalar and vector quantities review, so a scalar quantity has magnitude only and has no direction in space. So these are some examples of scalar quantities. So we do not say, for example, if your mass is 60 kilograms, you don't say I'm 60 kilograms north or 60 kilograms 30 degrees south of west, right? So just say the quantity and the unit. Okay, same goes with these other quantities that we'll be exploring as we go along in our discussions. And then for vector quantities, it's already having both magnitude and direction in space. So here are some examples. So for length, if you put a direction to it, let's say north or east or west or south, then you can call it the displacement. So for velocity also, so if you don't put a direction, it's called just the magnitude of velocity or what we call a speed. So it tells us how fast is the object moving. Okay, but if we put a direction, so it's already a vector quantity. So here are more examples. So when we draw diagrams involving forces, for example, okay, in one of our lessons later on, so we'll be dealing with summary of forces, okay, the effect on the motion of the summation of forces to the object, okay, the velocity of the object, acceleration, etc. So we use arrows to represent vector quantities. So the length of the arrow tells us about its magnitude. So the longer the arrow, okay, so the greater the magnitude is of that vector quantity. And the direction of the arrow from tail to head, okay, from tail to head gives us a direction of the vector quantity. So we have many conventions in writing or describing the direction of a vector quantity. So one is by using compass bearing directions north, south, east, and west. So we can use these cardinal points. Okay, one common way is to write first N or S to represent N or north rather or south, and then the angle between the north-south line and the arrow representing the vector quantity, and the letter E or W for east or west, respectively. Or you can also start from the east to west line and then rotate it towards the north-south line. So for example, if the angle is measured 60 degrees from north going towards the eastern direction, so we write letter N first and then the angle measurement and E. So we read it as 60 degrees east of north. Okay, 60 degrees east of north. So we start with the east with northern direction going eastward. So another example would be if the angle here from south is 44 degrees and it's going towards the western direction, so we call it 44 degrees west of south. Okay, we start from south and then going westward. So the notation would be S 44 degrees W. And for the other convention that we'll commonly use in our discussions is using what we know from our mathematics class. Okay, so we transform this set of cardinal points, okay, the compass bearing into a Cartesian plane. Okay, so recalling first that you say angle, so it has two sides. One is the initial side and the other is the terminal side. So this initial side is fixed while the terminal side is moving. So this ray here, okay, its distance from the initial side would tell us the magnitude of the angle. Okay, so we call this position okay, starting from the eastern direction for the initial side and rotating either clockwise or counterclockwise. Okay, so the angle is said to be in standard position. So we standardize it. We use this part as our initial side. Okay, so the cardinal points earlier are now being transformed into these angular measurements. Okay, 0, 90, 180 to 70 degrees. Okay, if you go in full rotation, so that's back to 0 degrees, or the angle is 360 degrees. Okay, so if the angle is rotated counterclockwise, it's said to be positive. If it's clockwise, then it's negative. So 130 degrees, for instance, okay, that's 90 plus 40 degrees. So coming from the 0 degree initial side, so if it's rotated for about 130 degrees, so we use positive 130 degrees. So an angle that is coterminal to this positive angle, okay, coterminal meaning they have the same terminal side, as if the angle is now being rotated in clockwise rotation. Okay, so this is its counterpart. So 130 degrees is a coterminal angle of negative 230 degrees. Okay, so this is 180 plus 50, because earlier this is 40, right? So meaning this is 50 degrees. So it's 230 degrees, but since the rotation is clockwise, so we put a negative sign. Okay. As much as possible in our computations later on, we use positive angles. So if ever there's a need to use a negative sign, then don't forget that the negative sign simply tells us that the rotation is clockwise. Okay, so for the first example earlier from compass bearing, okay, for the 60 degrees east of north, so we can write it as an angle in standard position, okay, but it's not 60 degrees, but it's 30 degrees, since the initial side is here and the terminal side of the angle is here, so the rotation is counterclockwise, so it's 30 degrees and not 60. Okay, so if you press your calculator for sine, cosine, tangent, etc., so make sure that the angles, okay, are in the proper quadrants. And if you don't mind, okay, the value, whether negative or positive, so make sure to, if you're not the one who will be determining the negative sign of these cosine, sine, tangent values, and make sure to put your angle, okay, in standard position. So the second example from the Cartesian plane, from the compass bearing, okay, can be written as 226 degrees. Or if we move clockwise, so it's 100, it's 90 plus 44, so that's 134 degrees, but it's clockwise, so it's negative 134 degrees, right? So you can visit these sites for more examples on the two ways of expressing. So when we add two or more vectors, you're getting the combined effect, or what we call the resultant of the vector quantities. So in loss of motion, for example, so we're going to get the summation of forces that are acting on an object to see if the object will move, okay, or will accelerate, okay, or will stop, etc. So we need to know the concept of vector addition. So we start with vectors that are going in the same direction. So we simply add their magnitudes. For example, if we have 6 newtons and 4 newtons forces going to the right, so their magnitude okay, or the resultant's magnitude is just the sum of 6 and 4, which is 10. So it's 10 newtons and going the same direction. So to the right or 0 degrees, okay, or eastward. And then another set of vector quantities, you have 20 and 5 newtons downwards. So the magnitude is 25 newtons and the direction of the resultant is downward or south or 270 degrees or negative 90 degrees. Okay. So for vectors in opposite directions, for example, to the right, we have 6 meters per second, okay, for velocity. And then to the left, we have 18 meters per second. So the resultant would be to the left, since of course the to the left arrow is longer than the to the right arrow. And we get a net of 12 meters per second. So you can assign a positive um, value for 6 meters per second, and this would be negative 18 meters per second, so that you can easily get the summation algebraically. So 6 plus negative 12, or negative 18 rather, is negative 12. So meaning the negative sign tells us that the direction is to the left and the magnitude is 12 meters per second. Okay, that's the normal thing we do na right is positive and left is negative. Okay, but of course, if you want to use a negative sign for 6 and positive sign for 18, then go ahead. Okay, it depends on the point of view of the observer later on for our word problems. Okay, so it's not always na to the left or negative good. So depende. Basta make sure that if you have vector quantities that are in opposite directions, you need to assign, okay, the opposite direction, okay, as negative and the other direction as positive, whether it's the left or to the right. But of course, normally, or you won't be confused, okay, when we look at the monitor or the paper or the notes. So we'll assign positive to the arrows pointing to the right and negative pointing to the left. Okay, and then positive if upward and negative if downward. Or we don't need to assign angles for this. Okay, so we just describe na upward, downward. As simple as that. So it's easy man to understand. Okay, uh, just describing it using the compass bearing directions. Okay, but later on, especially if it's not purely vertical or horizontal, then we need to use the other way of expressing directions, right? So for the second set, we have 3 meters per second upward and 2 meters per second downward. So the summation is upward and with a magnitude of 1 meter per second. So this would be positive 3 and negative 2. So if you add them, so the result is positive 1, meaning the direction is upward. Okay. So for vector quantities that are not located in what we call quadrantal angles, okay, or north-south, east-west lines. So we use special methods. Okay, so the first set is graphical method. So in our lecture class, so we'll focus more on the analytical method to get accurate, okay, results, more accurate results in our computations. Okay, so we'll leave the graphical method in your laboratory experiment instructor. Okay, so the first um, method for graphical is parallelogram method. So we first draw the first vector. Okay, so for example, it's this green arrow, okay, and then it's going to the right, for example. So we use a ruler to determine, okay, how long would be our arrow is. Okay, so we select a scale. So for example, if you're dealing with forces, okay, let's say 10 newtons, and then you'll assign 1 centimeter for every newton of force. So you'll draw a 10 centimeter long arrow to represent that 10 newton force. And for the angle, okay, the direction, so use a protractor. Okay. And then for the second vector, so we draw another arrow. The tail of the second vector, okay, should be drawn from the tail of the first vector. Okay, so for example, let's say this is 8 Newton force. So you need to draw an arrow that is shorter than the green arrow because it has a lesser magnitude. No? So it's 8 newtons less than 10 newtons. So meaning if you are using 1 centimeter is to 1 Newton force scale, so you draw an 8 centimeter long arrow for the second vector. Okay, so this is also called, by the way, tail to tail method because you're connecting the tails of the two vectors. And then from the term parallelogram, so you need to draw a parallelogram. So from the heads of these arrows, so you draw arrows parallel to them. Okay, so that is the arrow parallel to the green arrow, and then the second one is for the yellow arrow. And then the resultant would be the arrow that we draw from the common point where the tails are found and towards the intersection there of the two heads of the extensions. Okay, so that is what we call a diagonal no, of a parallelogram. So this would be the resultant. Okay, and then use again a ruler to get the length of the red arrow and then use the 1 centimeter to is to 1 Newton scale and then use a protractor to get the direction. Okay, so that's parallelogram method. So the limitation here is you need to have only two vectors at a time since you need to draw a parallelogram. So it should be two vectors only given. If there are three vectors, you need to first get the resultant of the first two vectors, use it as one of the sides of the parallelogram, and the third vector would be drawn, okay, as the second vector of the new parallelogram. Okay. So if you have four vectors, then you need three parallelograms. So hassle siya, no? If we are going to use it to get the resultant. So the less hassle method is what we call a polygon method. So it's not parallelogram only, imong pormahon, no, but a polygon. So the number of sides would depend on the number of vector quantities, okay, that you are using to get the resultant. So if the polygon, okay, has three sides, it's called a triangle, no? So it's for a system with two vector quantities. The third vector, okay, third side of the triangle would be the resultant. So if you have more than two vectors, so plus one side, okay, so that's number of sides for your polygon. So same first step, okay, as the first step in the parallelogram method. So you draw the first vector using a ruler for its magnitude and the protractor na for its direction. And then from the head this time of the first vector, draw the second vector. So this is called head to tail method because the tail of the second vector is connected or drawn no, from the head of the first vector. And then the resultant, you don't need to draw additional arrows. Guess you just connect the tail of the first vector to the head of the last vector to form the polygon. So triangle for this set, if you have four vector quantities, so you'll have a pentagon. So the fifth side would be the resultant. Okay, so the last arrow that would close your polygon. Okay, and then use ruler and protractor to find the magnitude and direction of the resultant. So for analytical method, we use laws of sines and cosines and finding the magnitude and direction of the resultant of your given vectors. So although this is not a graphical type, okay, but still you need to draw the vectors so that you'll know which sides are you using, okay, for the computations and also for the angles. So it's not necessarily done through scale, but ensure na realistic pod, no, na the 10 newtons arrow should be longer compared to the 8 newtons arrow. All right. So you need to form a polygon for this one, okay, so that you can use the law of sines and cosines. And then if the triangle will form a right angle, okay, so then use Pythagorean theorem. Okay, so you can use lots of sines and cosines, but you'll be dealing with many sides and the angle, okay, but automatic naman na siya ma-simplify into Pythagorean theorem if one of the angles in your triangle is 90 degrees. Okay, so just use Pythagorean theorem directly. So you draw the first vector and the second vector and the third side, okay, of the triangle would be your resultant. Okay, so if the right triangle, okay, if a right triangle is formed, so for example, these two lines are perpendicular, okay, so 90-degree angle between them. So your hypotenuse would be the resultant. So you can just use this formula or this equation to get the magnitude of the resultant and use trigonometric functions, okay, to get the direction. So whether sine, cosine, or tangent. So for angles that do not have 90 degrees, okay, so we use the law of cosine. Okay, this first one is the law of cosine and the law of sines. Okay, for the second equation. So supposing we have these three or two rather vector quantities, same as the previous slide. Okay, so if we're going to get an angle opposite to the red arrow, so we can label it as angle theta. And let's say if the first and second angles are labeled A and B, so the angle opposite to angle A can be assigned, no, this Greek letter alpha, and the angle opposite to angle B, the Greek letter beta. So the law of cosines, okay, is this one. So the square of a side of a triangle is always equal to this third side here of the equation. So it's the square of another side, okay, plus the square of the last side, and then you subtract, okay, 2 times the product of these two sides and then cosine of this angle, which is opposite to the side that you have written here on the left side of the equation. So if you're going to use alpha and beta for the angle, so the equation, okay, would look like this. Okay, so instead of r squared, so for example, if we're going to use angle alpha, so the side opposite to it is a squared, is a rather. So we write a squared instead of r squared. and then b squared plus the third side r, and then you square it. So minus 2 times br times cosine of alpha. And if we're going to use angle beta, so it's b squared on the left side, and then a squared plus r squared minus 2ar cosine of beta. Okay, and then for the law of sines, so the ratio of a side to the sine of the angle opposite to it, okay, is constant. So if you use side A, so you get the ratio of the magnitude of that side to sine of the angle opposite to side A. So it's equal to this value here. Okay, so it would depend on what measurements are available. So you can use either these two sides or these two sides or this and this. So another analytical method is what we call component method. Okay, so this time you don't need to draw the triangles. So we first resolve the given vector into its components. So if you have, let's say, a vector labeled f, let's say it's a force, and then the vertical component, okay, is what we call y component from y-axis, and the x component from, of course, the x-axis. So we can use, okay, trigonometry, no, in finding the magnitude, okay, of the components of your vector quantity. So the perpendicular components, okay, so we label it as f sub y for the vertical component and the horizontal component or x component as f sub x. Okay, so this is the formula to solve for the x component and this for the y component. Okay, so why do we have cosine? Okay, so if the angle is measured from the horizontal component, okay, so we can draw a side that would form a right triangle with f sub x and the given vector, right? And this side, okay, is just equal to your f sub y, okay? So if you are going to get the x component with the theta labeled here, adjacent to your f sub x, okay? So this side would be your adjacent side, and your force here, okay, the given vector is your hypotenuse of the right triangle. Okay, so if you're going to use this pair of sides, so adjacent and hypotenuse, and there's an angle theta, so you can use cosine of the angle theta, right? Because you can get the ratio of the adjacent and hypotenuse sides. Okay, and the adjacent side is your x component, and the hypotenuse is the magnitude of the given vector quantity. So by multiplying the whole equation by f, so you'll get the x component equal to f times cosine of theta. So same goes with the y component, but you need to use the opposite side of angle theta. So it's opposite over hypotenuse or side. Okay, so in using these formulas, make sure that you are using the standard position of an angle. Because if you have angles that are located in the second quadrant or third quadrant and fourth quadrant, diba, you don't have the same sign for x components, even if the angle is the same, let's say 60 degrees. And then there's an angle here, also 60 degrees from the negative x-axis. Okay, so it's not all the time na same ang sign, no, for these angles na mo equal siya to its reference angle. Okay, it would depend on the location. So maybe same magnitude but opposite sign. So para dili na ta sige tan uy positive ni siya, negative ni siya nga component. So we just rely on the angle no in standard position ini compute para diretsyo nagbutang sa calculator and then automatically okay, the calculator na mo set if it's positive or negative and then you can get the summation na of the forces no or any set of vector quantities. So take note of that no the angle should be in standard position. So for example, if you have these vectors A, B, and C, so it's a resultant for the system of vectors, okay, is the direction na is starting from the tail of A towards the head of C. Okay, so dili pa baliktad, ha? Para sakto ato ang angle. So it should be from A and then going towards C. So to solve for the components of this resultant, so being a vector itself, yeah, vector quantity itself, so naa siya sa third quadrant, right? So it has its own y component, okay, and its own x component. So although it's not a requirement, no, to draw the arrows, okay, but it would help you, no, to know if you're on the right track ba or dili, okay, or layo ras tinuod, no, if you'll get a resultant nga naa di ay on the second quadrant instead of the third quadrant, di sayop na ka, okay. So x component is to the left and y component of the resultant is to the right, okay. So di lang nato tagsa-tagsaon og kuha na showing step by step na solution yun in finding the x component of A, x component of B, x component of C. Okay, so we can use man a calculator in our class. So we'll just use one equation. Okay, so to solve for the x component of the resultant, so ang imong isulat would be uh, x component of A is A times cosine, okay, of its angle. No? May label it as theta sub A. Okay, so for example lang, no? Assume lang ta na, A dara. It's 0 degrees, so we write whatever is the magnitude of A and multiply it to cosine of 0. And then for the second term, so you write the magnitude of B, multiply it to cosine of the angle at B, and then C times cosine of angle, the direction of your vector C. So that's how you write the x component of your resultant. Okay. So for the y component, so sa pawan man, no? So let me write it here. So it's r sub y equals a sub y plus b sub y, okay, plus c sub y. Or input lang na tanan on a calculator. So A, multiply it to sine of theta sub A, and then B, multiply it to sine of theta sub B, and C, multiply it to sine of theta sub C. Okay. So once you have already the components of your x and y components of your vector quantity labeled R, then you can solve for the magnitude by using Pythagorean theorem. Okay, the components are the sides of the right triangle, di ba, nga mapurma together with the theta. Okay, and the angle here, theta. So, ang angle, isulod lang kung asa ang triangle nga mapurma. Although this is not yet in standard position, take note, okay? But it should be an angle within the triangle nga mapurma with your x and y components, ha? And later na nato na i-transform into standard position. So since x is adjacent side and y component is your opposite side, so opposite and adjacent, we have tangent, okay, for the trigonometric function, okay, na ratio of y component to x component. Okay, so to get theta, so we use the inverse trigo function arctangent. Okay, so arctangent. So para di ma-confused sa angle nga makuha, by the way, na mo negative if either y or x component is negative, okay, kay mulid niya into kana confusion no asa man ni na quadrant siya ni belong second quadrant or fourth quadrant, no? Okay, if either ang numerator or denominator is negative, so it would yield the same sign for an angle theta nga mo negative. Pero um dili ma-determine dayon no by just computing for angle theta asa na siya. So we need to at least locate asa na ang x component and y component before we conclude na that's really the um direction of your resultant. So para safe, so just use the absolute value of the y component to x component ratio. Okay.